Good morning, everybody. I thought we'd try a little Zoom video for all of our community residents and non-residents alike that are on our Facebook page at Town of Bluffton. And just a little switch up. We're practicing for our online meeting next week. So we have Chief Chapman and our town manager, Mark Orlando, on here. And I just want to let you know that we are so on top of what is going on. None of us know the end date of this, but please rest assured your town manager and your police chief is doing what it takes to keep Bluffton safe. So I'm going to start off maybe just letting Mark give a quick update on town update, and then we'll move on to Chief. And if y'all have questions, please post them on Facebook. We have someone monitoring that, and send us some questions. We're going to sit here for about 20 minutes, a little longer if we need to, but I think this will give you a little bit of a chance to ask us facts and let us give you facts over fear and answer some of your questions. So Mark, what do we have going on in the town? I'm getting a lot of emails from just concerns, you know, can they still do business? What's going on? So
sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Hi, everybody. Lisa, thanks for having Chief and I on the call today to give some updates. It's been a very busy and hectic at least 2 weeks here in Bluffton and the Low Country, obviously for everybody. Just to give some quick updates, 50% of our staff, 50% of our workforce, which is about 150 people total, 50% of us are working remotely from home. We've closed all buildings for public access, and those folks that aren't working remote or from home, our police department, Chief Chapman, thanks for everything you're doing, the entire emergency management team, as well as our inspectors, public works, customer service staff. While our buildings are locked to the public, it's business as usual for us, with one exception, as the rest of the state and region. Our municipal court is closed. And so other than that, we're really open for business. We're still reviewing plans, we're inspecting, we're building projects. I got off a call today with our engineering director talking about the construction and some of the hurdles there with Wright Family Park. We're planning for some meetings. We've canceled all public meetings in April with a few exceptions. We will still have Planning Commission electronically in April. We will, of course, have Town Council in April electronically. And Mayor, to your point yesterday, you still, we're going to have an emergency meeting for all of Town Council to spend some time together and have some communications about what we're doing and what we need to do for the community on Tuesday. That meeting will be electronic as well. I've been doing my best to stay connected. We're working remotely, and so we had to transition our workforce. I'm definitely staying connected with all of our town council members, Fred, Larry, Dan, Bridget, and of course you. I can't say thank you enough. A lot of good guidance, some good input, a lot of decisions need to be made. So we've really refined our team. You all have passed 2 proclamations. Those proclamations really went live yesterday. Town Council, so everybody knows, passed 2 proclamations, and essentially they do 2 things. One is a strong request and a very strong urge for the governor to issue a stay-in-place mandate. And then the other proclamation is to simply reiterate what the governor passed as a mandate for social distancing. I think that the communication of those proclamations are to let the governor know, one, we support his directive and mandate to be safe, to have a culture of disease control. And the other one is to simply truly ask him on behalf of Town Council in the town of Bluffton to put a shelter-in-place mandate today. I know a lot of municipalities are treating this differently, all trying to be on the same page. And so for me, I'm running the operations the best I can, but I couldn't do it without a great team of leaders, a great team of department heads, and all of our 150 or so employees. So
thank you. Before we go to Chief, thank y'all all for watching. We're starting to get some comments. One is, when are we going on full lockdown? This is no joke. I hope you know we don't think it is a joke. This is no joke. There have been many opinions from the Attorney General up that says in a situation that we're in, full authority lies with the governor and the president. We have passed a proclamation telling the governor we 100% would support a shelter in place. And that came from all the towns in Beaufort County. And he's hearing from other towns, larger cities in the state. We are going to, and Chief will talk about this, we've also passed a proclamation on social distancing. And we've had through a few scenarios past Chief this morning, just so I can kind of get in their mindset. So no one is confused about what that means. And they are out and about. We are making sure everyone's separate. We can only enforce what the governor has asked us to do. Don't compare us to Columbia or Charleston or any places like that. I can't speak on how they can enforce something that the Attorney General told us was unenforceable unless it came from the governor. So I hope that helps you. It's not a good answer, but it's the best I have. So we'll see. One more before I get to you, Chief. How do we stop the tourists from coming here? Again, I think my last answer settles that. But guys, there are a lot of people who live here who have out-of-state plates that live here already. And Chief gets frustrated. I know you see an out-of-state plate pulling into an elementary school and they live here. There are a lot of second homeowners that own property here that are coming here. So we just got to educate, and I'm going to end that and throw it to Chief, and maybe he can continue with what they're doing. So Chief, thank you so much. You're busy. We love what your PD's doing. So it's all yours.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Chapman, Chief of Police with Bluffton here. I want to start by saying that, look, we're surrounded by an incredible team. Not only our police department, but everybody in the town of Bluffton is doing their absolute best in completely uncharted waters. So please bear with us as we work through a lot of these issues because they're new for all of us. So what's the police department doing right now? Well, let me tell you, business as usual, right? So we're out there answering calls just like we would every single day, and then trying to deal with the COVID-19 crisis. We are really studying the governor's executive orders intently, trying to make sure that we understand the purpose and the enforcement issue behind each and every one of them. We're seeking those opinions from not only our legal team, but for the Attorney General's office and our other professional organizations to make sure everyone in the county is on the same page. We're trying to educate our community as best we can what social distancing truly means. When we see an issue, we try to encourage those that are maybe not completely comprehending social distancing, what that means. So we're spending a lot of time educating our businesses and our public. And then we're still trying to stay engaged with our community. We believe in community policing, and we have to have those connections within the community. We're ensuring that our staff is safe, just like our EMS workers and fire department are doing. These guys are out there on the front lines. So we're trying to make sure that our staff is protected, well rested, well equipped. We are properly equipped with the proper PPE right now, personal protection equipment. That's a big conversation nationally. We're pretty well ahead of the curve. We kind of saw this coming several weeks ago and got out in front on some orders. So we're doing well there. We're working closely with the Beaufort County School District to ensure that the meals are being delivered to our students. We have staff members working every day at the Bluffton campuses to help ensure the students are fed. And then we're just doing our best to try to stay ahead of this as best we can. And it's a learning curve for all of us. But that's kind of an update of where your police department is.
Right. And Chief, somebody texted me, actually, they didn't get it on Facebook, but and both of y'all can answer, and I think it's good for y'all to be the one speaking to it. How are we, to reiterate, you might have already hit it, but how are we communicating with other towns and county entities, both elected and law enforcement, first responders?
Well, I'll let you know from our level, I'm on, regrettably, I'm on probably 4 or 5 different conference calls a day, from the state level to county level to my law enforcement partners across the county. We're in constant communication to ensure that we're all on the same page. We ensure that we're keeping up with all the state mandates from the South Carolina Emergency Management Division and DHEC. So a lot of time is spent communicating right now, trying to stay on the same page and make sure we understand the message from the highest level all the way down to our town.
Mark?
Right, and Mayor, I'll reiterate that. I'm definitely on different listservs and in connection with, regionally, that's really my first spot. I'm connected with, very connected with all the regional managers as well as our county administrators. So that's my initial go-to. And then I reach out beyond in the rest of South Carolina and different colleagues I have across and through the country. We're trying to stay up to speed and provide the best in class. We're thinking through a lot of different things. As an example, what can we do in 3-4 weeks, 2-3 months, however the time limit is? What do we do, and what can we put in place that is allowed in the South Carolina code to support small business and residents? And so a lot of that discussion is starting to happen. And so staying connected and staying fresh and making sure that we're providing a best-in-class response to the citizenry is something that I know is on Chief's mind, my mind, and definitely all of Town Council. So I think the one thing that we did, if I look back in a decision we made and a question we asked a couple weeks ago, is realizing this is going on in other parts of the country and just finding its way to the United States. What do we need to do right now? What do we need to put in place so that we protect our employees, because we have to continue and keep taking care of our community. And so I think our quick transition a couple weeks ago to move to a mobile and electronic workforce has served us well and will pay dividends. And we're trying to stay fresh, keep people from burning out, so that we're here to answer the questions and help the community. I think that's our biggest role right now. What do we do? There's so much nervous energy, angst, unknown. The schools are closed. Lots of our employees are working from home. I wrote a little vision down right before we all got started, and I said, what do I need to focus on every day? Is let's keep each other safe and let's keep the lights on, because as much of, and we realize, as we all do, this is as much a public health issue as it is affecting the economics. So we're really staying focused. It's not just an internal look. We're looking outward into the community, trying to understand where people need help will be our biggest job and most important job moving forward.
Couple of things, and again, thank y'all. I hope we're answering your questions. Somebody did ask about the gyms. I thought all gyms are supposed to be closed. Nothing really has been mandated to be closed unless it came out of the governor's office. So like I said, Chief is, practicing and enforcing social distancing. Chief has said, in our town limits, it's also an education process to let people know, what we can enforce, and 100% education. Wouldn't you say, Chief?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're taking a real common sense approach to it. I mean, we are. We believe that if people don't understand what they should and shouldn't do, it's our job to educate them. And for the most part, the citizens have been really responsive to our request. And I'm encouraged about that. One thing I would add to follow up on what Mark said, it's important to know that we're looking outside of just Beaufort County to see what's going on. We're involved with several different talk groups of chiefs from across the country in other areas that have hot spots to find out what they're doing, what their best practices are, and trying to ensure that we're doing exactly what we need to do to try to stay ahead of this.
WJCL is carrying us live. Thank you for our partners in TV on that. Question on why Charleston issued their own stay at home. I don't know really, why did they issue it? Why does anyone, they're worried about their residents. The governor clearly said, as long as you don't supersede my authority, you can request anything. I'm requesting people to stay at home. That's what he said. We just can't enforce something that's beyond his authority. Is that right? Am I answering it correctly?
Yeah, I think you're answering it correctly. And I think our proclamation does the same thing. Our proclamation reads that we take this seriously. We believe people should respect to the highest degree they can to stay at home. We're not inviting them out for concerts in the park. We have moved some of our operational levels down a couple notches to not continue with special events. We have, as best we can, implemented those same factors that the city of Charleston has done. We are also urging the governor to do this, where you all and our attorney has indicated that that's where that power lies. And so it's hard to understand or I would say comment on what Charleston did. We're not there. I think we have to understand where we are here, and this works for us.
And I think a lot of it is just reminding people, self-patrol, do your own. You know, I had a friend call me today. Her son is a doctor in Louisiana, and he is really seeing misery. She said her son called her and said, don't do anything to get sick. And I told her, you know what, I'm going to spread that. I think that's simple. Don't do anything to get sick, and don't wait on government to tell you to do it. I'm practicing it. We're doing it right here. Don't put our first responders in harm's way. If you're not feeling good, you know, you need to stay home. And so simple. We should practice that always. Somebody talked about food trucks. As long as they're practicing social distancing under the executive orders that we are working under from our governor, they honestly are a needed resource. As long as our curbside takeout, our businesses that are running, if you can think out of the box and think out of, you know, be a little more innovative on things, I'd go for it. Ask us if you think it's legal or not. But right now we're under the orders of the governor. I'll run to that too, because Chief, I'm getting a lot of people that are wanting to give back. And I asked you this earlier and you can respond. They want to help first responders. And I know other than your department, I know you can speak to what we're doing, maybe push that help of feeding should go elsewhere. You want to comment on what's going on your end?
You know, I think from a standpoint of food and things like that, you know, I think resources like Bluffton Self-Help is a great place to start. You know, internally, we're taken care of pretty well right now through the resources that we have. I know that there's a lot of people in the community, you know, directly affected with the loss of their jobs and our businesses closing. So I know Bluffton Self-Help and other resources within the community are providing some much needed services. So I'd start there. Medical supplies, you know, are right now, I think Beaufort Memorial Hospital, Hilton Head Hospital, some of our nursing homes, they need that PPE equipment drastically. We're in pretty good shape right now as a department. Like I said, we got ahead of the curve just a little bit. There's some additional resources coming down through the state that'll be going out to our local towns and EMS and fire departments throughout the county. So there is a need for things in this community, and I think if we all come together, we can address a lot of that.
Right. And Mayor, if I could add to what Chief's saying, you know, what we're seeing is a lot of folks step up with private initiatives that we've been hearing about, some fundraisers trying to put some funds in place. One good example, Chief mentioned Bluffton Self-Help. Another good example is this Community Foundation of the Low Country Matching Fund, where they indicated that the Community Foundation will match the first $100,000 of privately raised money. And so we're starting to see a lot of those things. I'll also add, and so that everybody knows, we have a team, not me only, but a team behind all of us and with us, literally scrubbing the federal bills, the stimulus packages that are coming out, trying to understand how that A is going to affect South Carolina and B, Beaufort County, in particular to Bluffton. And so know that while Chief is and his team are keeping everybody safe throughout this time, we're also working on aligning our resources, both privately and publicly, here in Bluffton and regionally, for the public and the business owners.
So we have an amazing staff. Thank you all. And that's PD, Mark, everyone. We have an unbelievable council, and I want to shout out to Fred Hamilton, Dan Wood, Bridget Frazier, and Larry Toomer, who all are working really hard personally, so many of them in their own jobs as well. Terry did just want me to relay the newest bill, because there was a question here about employers and rent and things like that. The newest bill they're looking at is supposed to include provisions to assist charities, with payroll and also small business, and the same relief for small businesses. So please keep looking at things like that. They're doing independent contractor relief, just so many things. And it is a loan, but you know what? If it keeps your lights on until we have some kind of final ending to this, please be aware of that. I know uschamber.com posts all of this, and everyone else, just so many, but I want to give a shout out right now. I don't want it to sound so blue and depressing. So many people are stepping to the plate. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm not shocked. I'm happy. There's so much going on with support of our restaurants. Our other businesses are thinking out of the box how to create their own kind of curbside takeout. We're here to help you. We're going to keep our town safe. We've got the best sheriff's department and the best police force in this country, I believe. So we're all in it together. So I just wanted to say that. Someone said they just cut off of this. Let me look. Anything, guys? Let me ask maybe, for you, Chief, how are you educating? Maybe talk a little bit about that, and I'll see if something's going on Facebook while you're talking.
Well, like I said, our officers have been given a lot of discretion to go out and talk to our business owners, our managers of these local businesses, to help everybody understand what social distancing truly means, what 6 feet is, talk about the reward of that, of flattening that curve. As we see people in the community, if there's a potential issue, we're getting out and discussing that and educating. And just so everyone knows, I speak to Sheriff Tanner several times a day and the other chiefs, and everybody's on the same page. We're all trying to do the same thing. And at the bottom end of the day, it's about keeping our community safe. And I think that's a great approach to this. Let's do what we have to do to come out on the other side of this and all be well.
So I'm seeing some little chatter in between each other. But I guess the point today is we have to follow Governor McMaster's executive order. And that's what the town of Bluffton is doing. I know their wishes that we can do more. I wish we could do more, but you're not going to put a municipality in jeopardy when clearly in the US and the state constitution, he has the authority. We've had attorney general's opinions. We've asked everyone who could possibly tell us something different. It is the same. I cannot speak to Columbia. I cannot speak about Charleston. I would encourage you to see if it's enforced. I mean, they've got to do what they can to take care of their residents. We're asking you, stay at home if you can. I mean, I'm asking, but guys, y'all know you can do that too. We're all practicing it. Poor Chief, he can. He's got to be out and about, but we're going to have digital meetings. I have since the 17th town council meeting, which was very separated. We only had 10 people in the room. That's the last really contact I've had more than with 3 people. So we are practicing what we're preaching. I beg you to do the same. Any other comments from anybody? We are having a press conference with the sheriff. He's leading it at 2:00 today. That information's been put out all over it. Go to our page and see it. Chief had a great suggestion. If you want to know social distancing and what the rules are and how our law enforcement is going to enforce it, look at the town of Bluffton's page and our town's page from the Attorney General Wilson. He had a great 4-minute video, easy to watch, to see exactly what that means. And Chief has told me their black and white world is gray, and they're using common sense and at the same time enforcing. So you want to speak to that, Chief, or did I say enough?
No, ma'am. I mean, I think you said it very clearly. I think there's some good guidance out there. I think the Attorney General's Facebook message kind of outlines the state's opinion on how we can enforce. That's what we're adhering to. And again, we're not just enforcing, we're educating. And hopefully it doesn't get to the point where we actually have to enforce. And like I said, for the most part, everybody seems to be abiding what we're asking from them when we address them. Is there room to improve? Absolutely. There's a lot of room to improve, and we had that discussion earlier. So continue to stay home if you can. If you're going to be out and about, use good social distancing practices. And if you're sick, definitely stay home. Definitely.
So the numbers, somebody asked a couple of things. We aren't answering the economic development impact and all of this, so I'll throw that at either one of y'all. And do we feel the numbers are relatively low locally? I think one is too many. Just y'all are on the DHEC calls.
Yeah, the way.
Speak about economic development impact as well, if you can.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. You know, it's hard to know what the numbers are here locally. I think sooner than later, we're all going to be directly touched by the coronavirus, whether it's your own family member or a neighbor or someone you know. I'm starting to already hear folks that either Jackie knows or even family members that are directly impacted by this. I would say that the best way to keep up to speed is continue to follow our town site and real government sites, legitimate government sites to get your information. So I think the longer we go with this, perhaps the more rumors or concerns. So I urge everybody to continue to check in with Beaufort County's pages, the town's pages, and other good government sites. The economic development answer, you know, I tried to touch on it a little earlier. We are putting some items in place at the April Town Council meeting, you know, to the governor's mandate, as well as some of our own that we'll be requesting that council's been asking me to put together is what can we do right now to support or perhaps provide a little bit of stimulus for the business community. We understand that this is as much affecting the economy as it is public health. We have to truly understand what the federal and state governments are doing. We aren't a type of community where we have unlimited funds to put major stimulus packages together. I think the best thing we need to do is be the group that can connect the dots. We know that there's federal stimulus, perhaps it transfers down to the state. There's some bills pending right now that may or may not affect local government. We don't know what they all are yet. And so what we are doing is what we control. We're trying to understand our span of control, and we're going to do our best to work within that span of control. So as an example, delaying H-tax and A-tax payments. At Town Council in April, we will also discuss with Town Council about potentially suspending or pushing out the business license deadline. Perhaps we push that business deadline out 30, 60, 90, or perhaps even more days, changing our deadline. And I think there are a lot of things financially we need to start talking about, which is why we can have our meeting on Tuesday. I think we're in a phase of adjusting, learning, and taking action once we know what some of those other factors are.
So Tuesday, 6, Mark? Are we planning 6 o'clock like normal?
I was going to ask you about that. It's really up to you and Town Council. I think a lot of the community may tune in. It's really your call. We can have it in the afternoon, or we can have it at 6.
So for everyone listening, and I am watching comments, I'm going to hit a few. Just stay tuned. I don't want to interfere with any press conference of the governor or the sheriff or the president. So it might be earlier. I mean, if we're all practicing what we're preaching, we're all at home in front of a computer. So couple of things I'd like, and again, chime in both of y'all. Hoarding. Toilet paper, chicken, and water seem to be the commodities of the day. If the governor did a shelter in place, I have not seen one state or one municipality who has taken away an essential service of a grocery store. Guys, you're gonna have food. I see the grocery stores today are saying limit 1. I'm glad they are, because you know there are people like me who are just regularly shopping that I don't need toilet paper. I'm not going to buy it. It's going to need it eventually. Please care about others who have little income, and when they have the money to go to the grocery store, you know, they're not going every day. Grocery stores will always be open. It's an essential service throughout. So that's just a thought. The other question was on preparing. So what happens if governor comes on, and governor may come on today, may next week. I don't know that he'll prepare us necessarily of any other orders, but what can people do to prepare? I'll throw it out, and Chief, I'd love, and Mark, I think you do need to educate yourself and look at some of these essential services is listed on a lot of sites to kind of see where you fall in. I don't know what Governor McMaster would call an essential, non-essential. But I'm educating myself. I'm Googling Maryland and Miami, Florida, and our municipal association. So do y'all have a comment on how people can prepare for what may come down the road? And is there any preparation?
Chief, I'll jump in unless you want to jump.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, I think we are preparing. I've said the other day, I think it's really, really difficult for all of us to go from 100 to 0. I think that the fact that 50% of the town of Bluffton's workforce, and probably the same amount, if not more of some other workforces, such as universities and whatnot, a lot of those folks are working remotely already. And so I think that we've already started to prepare. We're reminding each other about social distancing, washing hands, cough into your arm. I think that's drilled into our minds more than ever. If the governor puts a mandate in order, of course, there are essential and non-essential services. I don't know what our Governor McMaster, what the true spirit of that would look like in South Carolina. So what have we done? We've looked elsewhere where those mandates are in place and have familiarized ourselves with the chief in his department, as well as internally. And I know the community is as well. I've got calls. Hey, is so-and-so, is my to-go curbside business an essential service? Is Home Depot an essential service? I think we're all educating ourselves right now what that is. Time will tell. I'll also say this, I remind myself, this too shall pass. And so 6 feet of distance, know to wash your hands, and know to have this, as I've been reminding our team, a culture of disease control. I feel like we're preparing as much as we can.
Great. We're getting pretty much to the close. Chief, you want to chime in?
No, ma'am. The only other thing I'd say is from everything that we've reviewed from other states, from other locations that have placed these orders into effect, what we need is considered essential on these essential lists. Your grocery stores aren't going to close down. Your medical facilities aren't going to close down. So we're going to be able to get what we need regardless of the situation. And I think that's important to understand. If we go to that point, Kroger and Publix is still going to be open. Food Line's still going to be open. Our pharmacies are still going to be open. So we're going to be able to get those things.
Thank you, Chief. So I've had a lot of calls. Now, let me put this out, and I think all three of us and everyone agrees. In a normal life, the non-essential services are my most essential. And I think everyone agrees with that. But we are getting a lot of questions on hair salons, nail salons. I have responded. No one's going to make you close, but you've got to look out and see what's best for your employees and your clients, because those are the ones that have to stay healthy for you to have a very healthy business when this is over. And, if I'm not skirting it, it's all I can do. So that's to answer some of those questions. We do have a council meeting Tuesday, 2:00. There is a press conference similar to this from the sheriff's department, and all of the towns and counties will be in the back on Zoom. We're not going over there. And there'll be questions asked then. We see, y'all, we've had hundreds of comments. And if we didn't answer, we have Lindsay Hauselman right here listening, and she will make sure answers get back to y'all. I guess the message still is, Google put it out. Do the 5. Hands, wash them often. Elbow, cough into it. Face, don't touch it. Space, keep safe distance. Home, stay if you can. If we all did that, y'all, I believe in the 14-day rule. Our president said it. His 14 days ends Monday. We haven't really had a 14-day rule in the state, so I'm begging y'all, let Bluffton be the first. Let's create our own 14-day rule and see what happens before Easter. And I just hope we get all through this happy. I'm so proud to be here. And I know Chief is, and Mark, and I know everyone else is, and we're all working hard to be an even better Bluffton when this is over. So I'm optimistic we're gonna get through it. I know we are. We've gotten through far worse. So any last comments, and we'll say goodbye, and you'll see us Tuesday at whatever time on a council meeting, really just to discuss any updates.
Chief, I'll let you go first. If you have any parting comments, I would like to say something to end.
Absolutely. Just keep everyone, keep everyone safe, everyone around you. Keeping your thoughts and prayers, all the first responders out there that are on the front lines of this. Let's just do what's right. Let's take care of one another.
Right.
You got it.
And I want everybody to know that we're so connected regionally here between, Sheriff Tanner, all the elected officials and managers, Steve, Bill, Van, everybody in this region. For me, it's been a true blessing. I want to definitely thank our staff. I'm sure some of them are either watching now or will watch later. Please stick together. You have to keep yourself safe because we have to keep taking care of Bluffton, and it's something we preach and it's something we live by. We feel strongly about our vision and mission statements for this town, and those aren't just words on a piece of paper we talk about once in a while. So, and very much I appreciate all of town council's advice and guidance and phone calls. I've got a lot of good advice. We have a lot of decisions to make. There's a lot more questions than there are answers, and I just want to let them know how much, and Mayor, how much we all appreciate our leadership that we work for in this town.
Thank you. Thank you. And to end, we didn't hit it, which I think is going to be the topic of the weekend. I hadn't checked the tides yet, but I did ask Chief. SLED and DNR will have boats out on the rivers, checking the sandbars, practicing social distancing. Let's not give anyone any fetter or any reason to blast us about partying on the sandbar, guys. We're doing great everywhere else. We're practicing what we're preaching. We're doing great. Get on the boat with your family and boat somewhere. Don't stop on a sandbar this weekend. You're gonna be asked to separate. DNR and SLED are scarier to me than others. And even though I'm very respectful of our police department, but our PD and our sheriff's department needs boots on the ground in Bluffton and Beaufort County, and they are taking the load. So ride your boat, stay off the sandbar. I pray it's high tide at the right time. That's all I got to say, guys. Thank you. You'll get our blog tonight. You'll get our Joint Information Center information out every single, I think, day. And we will all be at the conference at 2. And God bless all of you. See you later.
Thank you.